From the shadowy forests of Transylvania to the blood-soaked battlefields of Wallachia, a legend was forged in fire and fear. This is the story of Vlad the Impaler, a man whose name echoes through history, entwined with tales of unspeakable cruelty and chilling brutality. Join us as we journey back to the 15th century to uncover the truth behind the myth, to separate the man from the monster, and to explore the world that birthed the legend of Dracula. And don't forget to subscribe to Fun Facts Through Time for more fascinating journeys into the annals of history. Before Dracula was a vampire, he was a man, Vlad III, also known as Vlad the Impaler or Vlad Drăculea. Born in 1431 in Transylvania, a land shrouded in ancient forests and whispered legends, he was a prince of Wallachia, a region in what is now modern-day Romania. His father, Vlad II Drăculea, was a member of the Order of the Dragon, a prestigious Christian knightly order dedicated to defending the faith against its enemies. The name Dracula itself means son of the dragon, a title that would become synonymous with fear and awe. But young Vlad's world was far from the fairy tales of chivalry and honor. The 15th century was a brutal time in Eastern Europe, a seething cauldron of political intrigue, religious conflict, and constant warfare. Wallachia, caught between the expanding Ottoman Empire to the south and the Kingdom of Hungary to the north, was a dangerous place to be a prince, and Vlad's education in the art of survival was about to begin. In this turbulent world, young Vlad and his brother were taken hostage by the Ottoman Sultan, a common practice to ensure the loyalty of vassal states. They were bargaining chips in a deadly game of power, their lives hanging in the balance of empires. For years, Vlad endured this gilded cage, learning the Turkish language, their customs, and their military tactics. But perhaps more importantly, he witnessed firsthand the brutal efficiency of Ottoman rule, a lesson that would shape his destiny. Tragedy struck when news reached Vlad that his father and older brother had been murdered back in Wallachia, betrayed by their own people. He was now heir to a throne soaked in the blood of his kin, a throne he was determined to reclaim. Fueled by vengeance and ambition, Vlad escaped his captivity and returned to Wallachia, ready to stake his claim. He entered a world of shifting alliances and treacherous plots, where survival depended on cunning, ruthlessness, and an iron will. Vlad's reputation for cruelty, even in those brutal times, precedes him. He earned his chilling moniker, the Impaler, through a particularly gruesome method of execution. Imagine, if you will, a sharp wooden stake, sometimes as thick as a man's torso, driven slowly through the victim's body. Often the stake was inserted through the lower body and emerged at the shoulder, leaving the unfortunate soul suspended upright. The agony could last for days, a slow and agonizing death. This was no mere act of brutality, it was a calculated strategy of terror. Vlad understood the power of fear. He knew that the sight of those impaled corpses, sometimes numbering in the hundreds, would strike terror into the hearts of his enemies. It was a warning, a gruesome testament to the fate that awaited those who dared to cross him. His methods were undeniably barbaric, but they were undeniably effective. Even seasoned warriors, hardened by years of warfare, were said to tremble at the mere mention of Vlad the Impaler. Picture, if you can, the scene. A vast plain stretching towards the horizon, the air thick with the stench of death. And there, rising from the earth like a macabre forest, stand hundreds, perhaps thousands of impaled corpses. This was the chilling spectacle that greeted any army foolish enough to invade Vlad's domain. It was a sight designed to demoralize, to break the spirit of even the most battle-hardened soldier. This was psychological warfare at its most brutal. Vlad understood that true victory lay not just in defeating your enemy on the battlefield, but in crushing their will to fight. And in this, he was undoubtedly successful. The sight of those impaled corpses, a stark reminder of Vlad's ruthlessness, was enough to send even the bravest armies fleeing in terror. Despite the undeniable brutality of his reign, Vlad the Impaler occupies a complex space in Romanian history. While some remember him as a bloodthirsty tyrant, others see him as a national hero who defended his people against overwhelming odds. He ruled Wallachia with an iron fist, instilling fear in his enemies and his own people alike. He brooked no dissent, punishing any transgression from petty theft to treason with swift and brutal justice. Yet paradoxically, this reign of terror brought a sense of order and security to Wallachia. The fear he instilled, while undeniably cruel, also served to deter crime and maintain a semblance of peace. Stories abound of Vlad's draconian methods of enforcing the law. One popular legend tells of a golden cup left unguarded in the town square, which no one dared to touch for fear of incurring Vlad's wrath. Vlad's reign coincided with a period of great instability in Eastern Europe. The Ottoman Empire, a formidable force, was expanding relentlessly westward, and Wallachia found itself caught in the crosshairs. Many rulers, facing such overwhelming odds, chose to appease the Ottomans, paying them tribute and bending to their will. Vlad, however, refused to bow. He understood that to survive, Wallachia needed a leader who would stand defiant against the invaders, and stand defiant he did. Though vastly outnumbered, Vlad's forces fought with a ferocity that belied their size. They knew the stakes, understood that their very survival depended on repelling the Ottoman threat. His victories, though often Pyrrhic, cemented his image as a defender of Wallachia, a warrior king who would stop at nothing to protect his people. This image, despite the shadow of his cruelty, continues to resonate with many Romanians to this day. The transformation of Vlad the Impaler from a historical figure into the legendary Dracula is a fascinating study in how history morphs into myth. Even centuries after his death, Vlad's name was uttered in hushed tones, often around flickering candlelight. His story, passed down through generations, became intertwined with local folklore, each retelling adding a new layer of embellishment. His brutal deeds, already bordering on the fantastical, were gradually amplified, taking on an almost supernatural quality. But the true catalyst for Vlad's transformation into the world's most famous vampire came in the late 19th century, with the publication of Bram Stoker's Gothic masterpiece, Dracula. Stoker, it is believed, drew inspiration from historical accounts of Vlad the Impaler, captivated by the prince's reputation for cruelty and his connection to Transylvania, a region steeped in folklore and superstition. While Stoker borrowed Vlad's name and some elements of his history, he took considerable creative liberties in crafting his iconic vampire. Dracula, the blood-drinking count of Stoker's imagination, bore little resemblance to the historical Vlad, yet the seeds of the vampire myth were already present in the whispers surrounding Vlad's life. His association with impalement, a method of death that left victims drained of blood, may have contributed to the association with vampirism. Moreover, Vlad's brutal reputation and the mystery surrounding his death further fueled the flames of legend. Rumors persisted that he had not actually died but lived on, sustained by some dark power. Thus, Vlad the Impaler, the ruthless prince of Wallachia, was immortalized in popular culture as Dracula, the king of the undead. Vlad the Impaler's reign of terror, like many powerful figures throughout history, would eventually come to an end. In 1476, after years of fighting off enemies, Vlad found himself facing a familiar foe, the Ottomans. They were back, stronger than ever, and this time Vlad's luck seemed to be running out. The exact circumstances of Vlad's demise remain shrouded in mystery, lost to the fog of war and the passage of time. Some historians believe he fell in battle, cut down by the very enemies he had terrorized for so long. Others whisper of a different fate, a more clandestine end. Could he have been betrayed, assassinated by rivals who feared his power, or sought revenge for his ruthlessness? Or perhaps in the heat of battle he was simply mistaken for an enemy and struck down by his own men. The truth, it seems, has been buried by time. Adding to the mystery is the enigma of Vlad's final resting place. According to some accounts, Vlad's body was taken to the Snagov monastery, not far from Bucharest, and laid to rest. The monastery, with its serene setting on an island in Lake Snagov, seems a peaceful place for the warrior prince to finally find peace. But in the 1930s, when archaeologists unsealed the tomb believed to hold Vlad's remains, they were met with a chilling discovery. The tomb was empty. Had his body been moved, lost to time and decay? Or could there be some truth to the whispers that followed Vlad even in death? Whispers of a darkness that refused to be contained. The empty tomb only serves to deepen the mystery surrounding Vlad the Impaler, blurring the lines between the historical figure and the legend he inspired. So how do we reconcile the conflicting narratives of Vlad the Impaler? Was he a bloodthirsty tyrant reveling in the suffering of his enemies? Or was he a ruthless pragmatist, a product of a brutal age who did what he had to do to protect his people? Perhaps the truth, as it often does, lies somewhere in between these two extremes. Vlad's story is a stark reminder of the complexities of human nature, of the fine line that separates heroism and barbarity. He was a man shaped by violence, who in turn left a bloody mark on the world. He was a skilled military leader, a shrewd politician, and a ruthless tyrant, all at once. His actions, though undeniably cruel, were often driven by a desire to protect his kingdom from those who sought to destroy it. But history, as we know, is written by the victors, and it is the whispers of legend, the stories told and retold over generations, that truly shape our understanding of the past. And in those whispers, Vlad the Impaler transformed from a man into a monster, his name becoming synonymous with darkness and dread. It was Bram Stoker, writing centuries after Vlad's death, who cemented this transformation in his Gothic novel Dracula. Inspired by the historical figure and the chilling tales that surrounded him, Stoker created a literary icon, a blood-drinking fiend who preyed on the innocent. Though there is no evidence that Vlad himself ever dabbled in vampirism, his reputation for cruelty and the mystery surrounding his death provided fertile ground for Stoker's imagination. And so the story of Vlad the Impaler, the real Dracula, continues to fascinate and horrify us centuries after his death. He remains an enigma, a figure shrouded in mystery and contradiction. Was he a hero or a villain, a liberator or a tyrant? Perhaps the answer is not so simple. Perhaps he was, like all of us, a complex tapestry of light and shadow, capable of both great cruelty and surprising humanity. Thank you for joining us on this journey into the dark heart of history. If you enjoyed exploring the story of Vlad the Impaler, give this video a like and subscribe to Fun Facts Through Time for more strange and fascinating tales. And be sure to let us know in the comments what historical mysteries you'd like us to uncover next. Until then, stay curious and sleep well.